Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. June 14th, 1965, the year of our Lord. Welcome, everybody. Winners and losers here. I'm Hank. I'm the host. I'm also the guest. I've been doing this solo for a few years, but I'm going to be getting some guests pretty soon. I know I've said that before and not followed through, and that might be what's happening again, but things lately are looking pretty good. Things are looking pretty positive, as we like to say in the positivity community. Everything's recording, looking nice. Yes, welcome. It's the middle of June. Heat wave central, aka planet Earth. Just going to get hotter from here on out. The society that we're being offered by our government, controlled by its vampire overlords, capitalism, is that every year from now on will be hotter, more expensive, and more violent. So things are looking pretty good. Oh, and hungrier. Now, us benighted Pizza the Hutts on the receiving end of the human centipede chain that is capitalist overconsumption are in America and the Western societies in general, what we like to call the first world, we're going to die last. Or at least, we're killing, not that it's all going to end up with death immediately. Death is, of course, heavily weighted towards those of the lower economic, socioeconomic classes, naturally, as is always been foretold. You know, squirrel societies are like that too. There's like 1% of the squirrels have 60% of the nuts, and but the rest of them work real hard to make sure that those nuts go to those big squirrels. What the fuck am I talking about? Yes. No, seriously, I had an idea. We're going to talk about Joe Biden on the Jimmy Kimmel program today. This might get copyrighted on YouTube because I'm kind of planning on playing the whole thing. It's 22 minutes. Maybe I'm probably jump around a little bit. I have not watched it yet, so you're going to get my real-time reactions, which will be a treat. I've seen the first like 40 seconds or so. So then that's when I was like, oh, I got to save up my authentic responses for you, for the show, because I'm willing to do anything for y'all. But yes, life's only going to get worse from now on. But the food, that's what I was thinking about. Food. We're back to basics. We've been surfing on the information superhighway for the last 25 years, 27 years, maybe. By the way, I've been watching that Theranos TV show called Blood Lady on Hulu. It's called The Dropout. Great show. Michael Showalter directs some of the episodes, and I'm just impressed with the quality of the storytelling. Honestly, it's a good show on Hulu. And it's also about the kind of ways that, you know, that Theranos story itself is just really interesting. Anyway, but that's a side note. Highly recommended. Pet it again. That got creepy. Didn't mean for that to be creepy. I was thinking about that We Rate Dogs account. So food is it's more important than downloads. It's more important than the internet, than profit. It's the source of everything for society to function. And I think that we're heading if anybody's listening to this, you're probably somewhat into the news cycles and paying attention and stuff. If you watch too much news like me, you have news-related depression and anxiety, and it's a part of the dark matter cloud of agony in which I expose myself to regularly. There are times where I stay off Twitter for like a whole day, and I'll feel good. I'll feel like a junkie going through withdrawal for the first like hour or two, and I'll be like, "Ooh, I gotta check it." And then eventually hours will go by, and I'll be like, "Why do I feel sort of not like jumping into in front of one of Elon Musk's auto-driving vehicles?" I got a lot to say about that shit, by the way. I used to drive Teslas professionally. How's that for a tease, huh? And it's not a joke. I did. It was a short-lived job, but I really did. It's really it'd be an interesting thing to someday ramble about. But yeah, no. So I'm working out. I'm eating better. I've been. Let me just give you a little TMI, okay? Content warning. Poop talk. They've been great. Really nice. It's funny how when you switch over to the food you know works for your body, that's a big part of it. And then so now if I'm going to go get me a couple of days of Chinese food and ice cream, I just know I'm going to have to pay the price. I just know that's going to be, and you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it because sugar is fucking amazing. By the way, the history of the Caribbean in the early 15, 16, 1700s is fascinating and violent, filled with horrifying European violence. Is there any other kind? Well, yeah, I guess. But there's been a lot of European violence going on around in this part of the world for a good 500 years or so. We're still living in it. We're in the mature stage of it, in a sense. Obviously, it's gone through different and very noticeable, quantifiable differences for sure. But we're still having our humanity suppressed in order to be easier subjects for the ruling class. And that old story. That's the story we're trying to change. We want to change. That's the wouldn't it be cool to be part of the last generation of people who put up with this fucking shit? It's probably going to be a few more generations, though, honestly. Unless I get to podcasting and start persuading some folks. But the food situation, we've already seen baby formula not showing up. That's got to be terrifying. What the fuck? Terrifying for so many reasons. I'm not going to try to just imagine myself being a parent. I'm just picturing myself lactating right now, which is uncomfortable for all of us. Although if you're into that, I'm open-minded. That's an awful thing. The world's greatest country, the shining city on a hill with starving babies that we can't produce enough baby formula to supplement natural breast milk. Lots of reasons why just relying solely on breast milk is absolutely inhumane and horrible. We have a technology. One of the things about humanity is all of our beautiful, wonderful technology, including baby formula, feeding babies. That childhood stage, I obsess over early childhood and like children's periods because not because I'm a big kids guy, and I don't. I was actually thinking it'd be fun to be like a woodworking teacher for kids, not like a creepy shop guy. Sorry, I took woodworking in middle school. I don't know if schools even have woodworking anymore. And the guy was a little creepy. I don't think he was doing creepy stuff. It just, in my memory, he was just like this oddball weirdo guy. Maybe that's where I learned how to be such a goofball. But like, I would like to like be part of a whole community where even though I don't have kids, I would still go and be like, all right, I'm going to go show woodworking stuff and teach the kids not to cut their fucking fingers off and then skedaddle and go on a sushi date with my hot sister wives. I've been watching that Mormon show on the polygamy channel on Hulu. Oh boy, but I love to be a polygamist. Man, does that seem fun. With people who are about my age. So I mean like, I'm not the 14-year-olds that the Mormons were going after. I'm talking about like 37 and up. So any 37 and ups out there looking to be a bunch of sister wives for a guy with great domestic skills? No, honestly, I'm not fit for this world. I'm not a good office guy. I need a job, so I'm going to probably eventually get a video editing work, I hope. Hold on, let me open up my Diet Pepsi. Here's to you, Rudy Giuliani. That fucking loser. He tweeted about how he wasn't drunk and he had a Diet Pepsi because this January 6th stuff is going on the TV, on the C-SPAN channel. And they're saying now he was drunk all the time. So he's like, I wasn't drunk. I had a Diet Pepsi, which we all understand is a cure for alcoholism. So, oh yeah, I want to be a house husband to a bunch of sister wives in my polygamist cult where I don't have everybody else works, but I stay home and I clean and I cook. I'm a good cook, and I make woodworking products. Each one of my wives will get a new cutting board every week. And I'd podcast probably, and I'll probably get in fights on the internet, but I'll work out and I'll stay in shape. I'll come to your work and eat your pussy on your lunch break. You know, we'll have like a rotation. And I think that sounds like a nice life. That's really what I want. I just want to do that. Obviously I'm hamming it up here a little bit for the entertainment value, but I would like to have a threesome where everybody has fun, you know, and by fun, I mean popcorn and Star Trek when it's over. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be great? DS9, TNG, or my fave, Voy. That would be fucking awesome. Let's do it. But it's sincerely though, my skills translate to excellent house husband. I would be such a good house husband. God damn it. I'm a hunky nurturer. And I can do all the fixing. I fix everything. I can fix anything. The internet, especially. Before the internet, I was good at fixing shit. Yeah. So I would fix stuff. But if it's like electrical or like the pool or the hot tub or the other hot tub needs fixing, I can schedule the contractors, and I can intimidate the contractors into giving me a male favored lower price. Wouldn't that be nice? So hit me up, ladies. No, you know what I did though? I took a picture of myself while I was walking because I figured I might look a little sweaty and hunky, and it was okay. I wasn't super embarrassed about it, but I'm starting to prep for getting back on the dating apps. That's one sign that I'm doing good for myself is when I've been exercising, getting up early, walking, thinking about the food shortages that are coming and the costs that are coming along, doing some exercises. I've been working on this video that I've been talking about, and it's finally starting to it's been taking form for a while, but I finished a pretty difficult animation sequence finally just this morning. There's a couple little tweaks, but I'm at the point where I can move on to the other stuff because this whole thing comes back with multiple phases. You got to go back and boom, 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 and fix things and export it, watch it, see, oh, crap, I didn't notice that little bit. So it's a lot of repetition, but it's moving forward, and that's related to, and so when I hit render to sit there, my computer's, it's a workhorse. It's holding up. I'm very happy actually with how it's working. I got kind of a big ass like workstation here, a lot of wires and stuff, and I need a new one in terms of, but like, so it still takes, it still slogs through some of these renders and the more complicated animations too. So it's like it's about 4 years old, but during those render times, instead of just sitting here or just moving the mouse around and reloading Twitter, hoping I get one of those dopamine likes, what I do is I get down on the ground and I plank, or I do squats, or I got a medicine ball and I hold it as long as it doesn't hurt my wrists. And it doesn't, if I don't bend my wrists, I can use them still. So that's nice. That's the workers' comp part of my life that I'm dealing with right now for those who are new. So I'm, just plugging away, just trying to show up for my mind and my body in a way that is going to contribute to a better life and a better future, and hopefully some social connections, because there's not much of that going on these days. And on the TikTok, don't worry, like the last episode, I rambled about TikTok way too much, but I saw this lady, she was like a farmer, and she opened up her back thing and she goes, look at this bale of hay. This used to be $3. This big bag of food here for my chickens used to be $7. Now this bale of hay was $20, and this bag of food was 18, like whatever it was. But everything was like 5 times more expensive for her. And she's like, food prices are going to get and she's like, this is enough to last me 5 days or something, whatever. So food prices are going to go crazy. There's a block. I haven't been following the Ukraine situation very closely. There's just only so much grief and misery I can ingest. It's bad enough having to live in America and pay close attention to American politics and all my goddamn podcasts. These lefty podcasts are just a bunch of fucking bummers, aren't they? If you like bummer lefties, though, stick with me. We're God, there goes the thought. I can see it driving away. It's not. I don't even. Oh man, damn it. But the food shortages are going to be. Oh, the Ukraine. Apparently, I don't want to be spreading misinformation if I am, but the Russian Navy is blockading shipments of grain, and Ukraine has very nutritious, nutrient-rich soil. It's a breadbasket of that area of the world, and it's going to the food. There's probably going to be some food shortages there. There's all kinds of supply disruptions throughout the world. Shipping costs are crazy. Housing costs are absolutely mortifyingly horrible. The vampires have really figured out that human beings need to live somewhere. They've got landlord Earth going on, and it's horrible. Another TikTok, this girl was explaining that this building she lives in is mostly owned by one person, and he bought the units 10 or 15 years ago when they were worth like $80,000 or something. Now they're worth like $500,000, and a bank is buying the building, not an individual, which is still gross, but a institutional investor, these asset hoarders, is buying the building, and it's about to go through. And she knows that once that goes through, to recover what they spent, they're probably going to pay cash. They're a bank. That's what they have on, they don't have to do a mortgage. I mean, who knows? Maybe they set it up as a mortgage for certain types of tax reasons, but they're flush. They got plenty of money. whether they do pay upfront cash or somehow mortgage it out, they're going to raise rents by a lot because they're buying those units for $500,000. And she's terrified. And the homelessness that's going to emerge from this, not everybody gets kicked out of their apartment, becomes immediately homeless. People go find roommates. They find lower cost housing somewhere else, which is now becoming harder and harder and harder to find. Or they go live with family. They move home with their parents. They go live, it's just brutal that these monsters are just squeezing us out of our houses, out of places we live. The notion that a person could be a lord of land itself is a despicable feature of our psychopathic system of ownership and domination. Human needs, human rights are not the same economic activities, economic sectors as selling pencils. Okay? Bullshit. It's terrible what we allow our people to be, crops to be harvested as much as a soybean in the winter lilies. Just trying to sound poetic. As much as a piece of corn in my teeth, a full kernel. That's gross. A giant full kernel. We're just conditioned to be blood bags, to not put up a fight, to be too tired to fight, to not be able to form a unit, to not have the self-confidence, to have a whole bunch of childhood trauma you got to get over, to have pollutants awash throughout your body. I Googled, is LA drinking water safe? Turns out it was safer than I expected it to be. So I'm going to keep drinking it. Maybe that's why my beard's falling out. I don't know. I'm not using PFA pans anymore. I don't actually know what that means. I haven't read up on it, but everybody I trust is scared of fucking Teflon. So I'm learning. Luckily, in all my years of not having reproduced, I've amassed a nice little hoard of good kitchen gear. Another reason me and my group of 37 to 45-year-old kitchen wives, sister wives, I'm the kitchen husband. I would welcome you all in the kitchen, of course. That's, but leave the kitchen stuff to me, boo. I used to bake. I made bread bowls. I am so fucking horny, and I'm sure that's pretty obvious. Yeah, man, I used to make bread bowls back in Chicago. The first couple were like bread saucers. They weren't. But eventually I got them to the bread bowl, and then I would scoop it out Panera style, and put my homemade chili in that stuff. What were we doing in the kitchen now with the sister wives? So we're gonna, oh boy, yeah, that one didn't even drive off slow. That one's just gone. So the food shortages are going to be terrible. The housing shortages are going to cause immense amount of grief. After they drain your savings, after they take those extra $500 bites, $2,000 bites that they want out of you so that you don't and immediately get booted out. What the fuck are we doing here? You need to live somewhere. There's nowhere to go. We're not going to get to Mars until 2029, like Elon Musk says. I love people that think that that's actually like a viable option. Moving to Mars is not going to happen. I'm not going to go on and on about that, but it is the dumbest thing. It is just a way to throw out chaff. I think that's what they call that, strips of foil that they would spit out the back of the plane so that the missiles would get confused. It just is a way to distract people from the reality that we're just cooking ourselves to death here on this planet. There's flooding in Yellowstone. Honestly, I don't know how much that is. I'm sure. Everything is, of course, connected to climate change because it's about the entire climate in general. But I'm not sure where the source of that water is coming from necessarily, if it's from storms or from snow melt or something like that. But there's a huge heat wave going on right now. The food disruptions are going to get worse and worse and worse. The shipping disruptions are going to continue to be bad. The housing thing is going to cause us tremendous amounts of problems, as it already has. But the good news is people who don't need money are going to be able to buy up all them houses and all buy up all the stuff once it all crashes. So the system's working exactly as it's designed to. Good. Let's get to the story I was going to do about Joe Biden here. I feel like there's a couple things there that I was trying to talk about. I got to talk about myself a little bit at first. It's just the way it is, All right. I can't remember whatever I forgot about. So, okay, let's get into this. So this is Jimmy Kimmel. Jim Word is his full name, actually. Jim Word Kimmel Word. I think he's okay. I don't have any beefs with this guy. He does a decent enough job. He and his former Man Show co-host Adam Carolla have diverged in some ways. Well, I bet they're still pals. Adam Carolla is turned into a Jesus, dude. What the fuck, man? So let's go. Here we go. We're starting off with Joe Biden appearing on the Jim Ward Kimmel Show.
Our very special guest tonight is to aviator sunglasses what Tom Cruise is to aviator sunglasses. I'm proud to say I voted for him dozens of times. He is the reason we all got a cavity search tonight. Please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Okay, here comes Joe Biden. Like, why did he leave his mask on until that moment? He just wanted to be seen taking it off. I guess that's actually an okay move if you're trying to sell the idea that you should be wearing masks, which you should be. We should be wearing masks, especially indoor. All right. God, could we have ruined the mask thing? The next plague is going to be just way worse because the whole mask thing has now become a symbol of independence and tyranny and whatever the fuck else we all have been conditioned to believe in formatting and fitting it into our own constantly horribly formatted belief systems. And it is, boy, we missed an opportunity here now that we've conditioned an entire several generations to have fucked up ideas about giving a shit about other people. And this mask thing is fuck. All right, sorry, I'm getting distracted. All right. He saluted him. He's not in the military, unless he's saluting somebody else who's standing off to the side. There's probably some military guy off there holding a nuclear football. Hey. He sure does walk like he's about to fall over. He does have that old man walk. And I'm going to be ageist because he's got nuclear weapons, okay? I don't go to the nursing homes and make fun of the old people there for being old because they've got applesauce. This motherfucker has nuclear weapons and he's in charge of all sorts of shit that's incredibly important to you and the trillions of souls left yet to be born. So I don't think that the rules of ageism apply to the same degree as they do to regular folks who are just living out their sunset years at the fart factory. Okay, fuck this guy. Although I do want Bernie to run. I mean, there is some nuance. Not because I think that's like our savior. I just think that someone should primary this piece of shit. And Bernie still seems like he has some energy left in him. We need to use as much as Bernie up as we can, okay? Like Johnny Five.
Well, thank you for coming, sir.
Right.
An honor to have you here. A pleasure to have you here.
Good to be here, man.
Now, you know.
Where am I? Why is my glaucoma? See, no, I'm not. I shouldn't. That's the inappropriate old people stuff. Is it glaucoma or cataract?
Got my wife saying it.
Your wonderful, the wonderful First Lady is here tonight. Hello.
There she is. I saw her.
That the First Lady came along.
Oh, she did. She just made the.
Did you hear how long that audience was cheering? I hate that shit, man. What the fuck? I hate this venerating powerful, famous people. The fame thing, I think, is just a major part of that. People don't even realize. People just lose their brains when they see someone they know. I saw Penn and Teller at the airport once, and I tweeted at him, "Hey, I love you. I saw you at the airport." I didn't say I love you, but I said, "I love your work. I saw you at the airport." I'm not that big a fan of his. I wouldn't even call myself a fan. I think, well, I don't know, break down his politics or whatever. But like, and he wrote back on the Twitter. It was kind of nice. But this fame thing, in addition to the power of the politics, I think that's a lot of the drug that these people get into. These people who are in the public profile, and they just get used to having their asses kissed and having their jokes laughed at and being the center of attention and people getting nervous around them. I bet they stop even noticing all that stuff. Oh crap! My blue light just turned off. Fuck. Okay. Is there anything cheaper than these LED things and these little shitty connector things? God, that thing just doesn't. So they're just addicted to the power and the fame, and we give them what they want. People go crazy. to be fair, if you're in the Jimmy Kimmel audience in a TV show taping, I attended a Jerry Springer taping, and I worked at the Young Turks where it was more or less like a Jerry Springer. No, it wasn't at all. But I've been in some studio environments, and you're primed to be loud and cheery and stuff like that. So I'm not really faulting the audience per se, but it's just such a kiss ass thing. Like, this guy should be getting pelted with tomatoes, rotten ones, cabbage. Fresh cabbage. It's harder than the rotten cabbage. Okay, I've bought cabbage and left it in the fridge because that's how you do with cabbage. That's the life cycle of cabbage. I hate that we respect these people. They're not especially this guy with this fucking career he's had. Architect of mass incarceration. He was a huge booster of getting police to ramp up their civil asset forfeiture policies and activities in the 80s. When he was trying to prove himself to be just like the Republicans, tough on crime, which means tough on minorities and black people, and putting people and continuing America's legacy of violent white supremacist oppression. All the other ways he was for Iraq and all this. He's just an odious person. He's one of the biggest villains in history. And we get excited and cheer for him because his fucking wife is also in the audience with her matching face mask with their fashion. Everybody should wear hospital face masks or those KN95 ones. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. That's okay. There's bigger injustices.
Commencement speech at Los Angeles Community College.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, I'm Jill Biden's husband. She's right there.
That's a stage joke. I'm Jill Biden's husband, by the way. I'm Beau Biden's father, by the way. I'm Hunter Biden's pimp, by the way.
Welcome. It's one.
Oh, cool. Use your wife as a political prop to help you impose your capitalism on all the rest of us. Hey, can we sell more oil? Hey, let's pump some more carbon into the atmosphere and kill everybody in the future, you fucking idiot. At least you got a nice wife to help you do that.
Wonderful to have you here.
The audience, I'm sorry.
Back,
I'm a little overstimulated. I'm going to watch this a little bit more and we'll calm down.
Maybe you want me to just stay on Fox all the time.
You know, they're very concerned that I might not.
He is so tired. He's already done with this. He needs to nap. Put him to sleep. There. Sleep. I'd fall asleep with him on my chest. And I'd stroke his back. You know, like a baby, you rub their back. No, but with the president on my chest, I would have my shirt off just for the visual. And I would stroke his whole long back. Starting from his warm, scalpy, bald spot on the back there to his fake hair right there, then the back of his neck, and then his rippling, supple back muscles. He's an acrobat. People don't know that.
I ask you serious questions, so I don't want you to.
They really ask serious questions.
Yeah, right.
Okay, sorry. This is going to take forever, and I'm sorry. It's just, do what you need to do. Fuck this guy. No. In America, we never get to talk to our politicians at this stage, at this high level. You know how rare it is that a human being, someone who's not a paid TV celebrity, gets to ask them questions. What has it happened? I feel like there was one incident where somebody yelled something, or it doesn't happen. In England, I don't know if there's still a thing anyway. They might have changed it because I haven't seen it in a while. But I just have memories of Tony Blair being yelled at by people in an audience, and they give him kind of an aggressive. They let him be aggressive, really screaming at him. They also have to do this thing. I forget what it's called, where they have to go into as they call it, Parliament. I'm not sure if that's what they call the place with all the big long green benches. Where the fancy lads and ladies put on their wigs and stand around and congratulate themselves on their magnificence. They at least have to go stand there and be berated by it's like going into Congress and having the opposition kind of dog on you a little bit. Shouldn't the most powerful person in the world be subjected to that? Not in America. We protect them. We make sure that they are insulated from any kind of inquiry. That's why this made news, is because Jimmy Kimmel, I think I just saw, a couple of references and clips and stuff, which we're going to get to eventually, maybe in 6 hours when I'm done interrupting, about, I guess he asked him some questions. So this is about the most you could expect. Maybe in a town hall sort of, or a TV special thing where they have very carefully curated audience questions. They'll let somebody stand there and ask a question. But it's just, there should be weekly or monthly or, even press conferences. From what I don't want to say this with too much confidence. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Biden is like historically low press conferences at this point. He just throws his surrogates out there to take the flack, which is probably better for politics because the guy's a gaffe machine, which we all like to think is, aha, look at that old doddering dumbass Uncle Joe. Isn't he funny? Doesn't he say the wrong thing all the time? But in this stage of his life, he's just like, it's a mess. It's a total. So they're probably smart to keep him away from things. He only became president because the COVID pandemic kept him away from regular human beings. He was running a terrible campaign in 2020.
I don't want to upset them at all.
I just pooped my pants.
Do you mind if I ask you some serious questions? Because this is,
Not at all.
unfortunately...
Not at all. I never mind having a conversation with someone really smart.
Well, Guillermo, maybe
He's
you
a charmer. He's a charmer. By the way, you're really smart.
need to take over.
No, but I'm happy.
We were here in September of 2019.
And one of the things we talked about at length was gun violence. And you said that we need to do something about this gun violence, particularly when it comes to our schools. And here we are, a couple years later. We're halfway through this year already. There have been...
27 shootings at schools? I guess...
Hundreds of mass shootings if you don't just keep it to schools.
I mean, just to get into it, why haven't we done anything about this?
Well, I think a lot of it's intimidation by the NRA. And look, this is not your father's Republican Party. This is a MAGA party. It's a very different.
Because Jimmy Kimmel's father's Republican Party was so much better. They
Very different Republican Party.
Is it?
And so you find people who are worried, I believe, that
this is not the guys I used to hunt hobos with in the 70s. So this is very different than these guys. They just, but they're just a temporary anomaly. They're going to go away. Don't worry. Republicans are going to wake up and become the good, strong men we've always loved and appreciated. Yeah, okay, I know it's coming.
that if they vote for rational gun policy, they're going to be primaried, and they're going to lose in a hard right Republican primary.
Is that your take when you speak to these guys
We should be primarying Democrats, all of them.
and women behind the scenes that they are? Is there any honesty? Do they acknowledge that they would like to do something?
Well, I think many of them do. I get in trouble for saying this, but
Many want the kids to stop dying. Whoa, someday we'll get that up to a majority of people. Wouldn't that be cool?
I get on. We have very different views on a lot of things, but I've always had a straight relationship with the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell. He's a guy that when he says something, he means it.
There's Joe
disagree with a
Biden
lot of what he
executing
says,
people by
but he-
suggesting that I'm going to replay what he just said about Mitch McConnell. I know I interrupted. This is what was making the rounds online. He volunteered his love for Mitch McConnell. He's the guy is one of the biggest, evilest gargoyle, horrifying vampire people in history. Mitch McConnell is a demon. He's just one of the absolute worst, least likable people. But he's had some nice lunches with them over the years, and they both watch each other's skin sag and hair go white, so they're pals with each other. He called Mitch McConnell his good friend a few weeks back. This stuff is just disgusting, and the fucking Democrats. The best asset the Republicans have is the Democrats, because the Democrats are, aside from their weakness and their disorganization, and some of that is endemic. I think endemic works, but is inherent to the left and to people who are on the left side of the spectrum. I wouldn't say all the way to where I am, but people who are sort of more independent thinking than the kind of like authoritarian, comforted, like get in line and know your role people on the right. Ugh, sorry, the ghost of the Pepsi came back. But the Democrats love, and they think they're, especially these old dinosaurs, they think they're going to score points by praising Republicans as if it's still 1991. It's as if they're still trying to win them over. That's the kind of mindset they're trapped in. And we're trapped in their world. These aren't even boomers. I think he's older than that or whatever. The silent generation, aka the traumatized generation from the Depression and the horrible World War, and they didn't know how to be parents, so they raised their kids to be fucking narcissistic psychopaths. Not all boomers, okay. Let's back up a little bit.
I've always had a straight relationship with the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell. He's a guy that when he says something, he means it. I disagree with a lot of what he says, but he means it. There are a number of...
It's just so fucking gross. God, I didn't really finish my point, but like what the Democrats do for the Republicans is they rehabilitate them. Nancy Pelosi is always quoting Reagan. I played a thing a week or 1 or 2 episodes ago at the end of the episode. They just love the Republicans. They miss their old pals because they are conservatives. This guy's a conservative. Pelosi's a conservative. Especially if you like compare it to European democracies, the ones that are left, the Democrats would be a right-wing party. We have a right-wing party and we have an extreme right-wing party, and it's only gotten worse over my lifetime. I can't fucking believe that this is where we are in 2020. We have this stupid old piece of shit praising Mitch McConnell. We have that stupid old piece of shit Nancy Pelosi praising Ronald Reagan. Is somebody going to speak up? Like, isn't there somebody in his staff that tells him, like, dude, that's not polling well? When you talk about how much you want to give Mitch McConnell a Turkish back rub, which I think is a chest rub. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. But sorry, I'm just picturing an old Ali G episode. Borat, I mean. Don't do that, Mr. President, is what the person should say. The focus groups, the people turn the dials to I don't like that. I'm not sure, how could you not know that? I mean, who knows? That's what the nature of power and stuff like that is. He probably isn't told what should be being told. And I know they have advisors, they have all sorts of stuff, but they choose what they listen to or not. And they go off their own instincts and stuff too. I doubt this guy remembers a new piece of information since 2004, maybe.
Like when he said we can't confirm a Supreme Court justice with a year left,
That's
and
right.
then said the opposite.
Well, no, what he did. I mean, look, he's a leader of a party that's moved very hard right, and so in order to get anything done, he has a different problem than he did early on.
What kind of answer is that? Jimmy Kimmel was trying to be gentle with that question. Do you mean like when he said I won't appoint a Supreme Court justice? Basically, reverse stacking the court, insisting that, or making sure that Obama wasn't allowed to have another Supreme Court appointment. That is a terrible thing. And that's also one of those things those like liberals love to crow about, these procedural violations and things like that. I've noticed a lot of lefties love's not the right word, but often seem to take stances that are like in opposition to, if it lines up with something liberals are upset about, that puts them off on being talking about it. The January 6th stuff is a thing, but these are like substantial things, like not following the rules matters when it's a fascistic takeover, when it's a slow coup, which has been going on for a long time. You could say maybe starting with the 2000 election. There's probably arguments to make about how it might have started before that or not. But dude, it's just. So Jimmy Kimmel started off with a little gentle question.
For leader
of confirm a Supreme Court justice with a year left,
That's
and
right.
then said the opposite.
Well, no, what he did. I mean, look, he's a leader of a party that's moved very hard right.
He lied, Joe Biden. Say that he lied.
And so in order to get anything done, he has a different problem than he did early on, before Trump became president.
It seems like
So his response to that is that he sympathized with them. Well, no, his party has gone far right. They're designing their Nazi uniforms. They're in that stage of this thing. He's got different problems. Jimmy, you're being unfair to my buddy Mitch McConnell. His party is far right. The one that he's in charge of has gone far right because of Trump. It was easier for him before Trump. The Merrick Garland nomination that was held up, by the way, the Merrick Garland guy is a fucking what a useless human being too. And he's got a weird voice, by the way. I saw him talking. It was like a person trying out for the Muppets. Let's let him.
Party has moved hard right, but I don't know that the people have moved hard right, because people overwhelmingly believe we should have serious background checks. They overwhelmingly.
Look, Jimmy, you may remember the last time we did something serious
about guns was when I passed the assault weapons ban. I was the guy that sponsored that, got it passed, limiting the number of bullets that could be in a magazine, whole background checks, a whole range of things. And we passed, and violent crime and gun crime dropped off. But I can only get it passed for 10 years. It had to be reauthorized.
And when the first Bush administration came along, they didn't reauthorize it. We didn't have the votes.
I think it expired in 2004, I believe, and I've seen some charts that just show the violence uptick of it from the assault weapons becoming legal again. Oh my God, what a horrifying nightmare society.
And so what happened was, all of a sudden it came back. You could own assault weapons again. And guess what? Crime went up significantly, 3 times. I mean, so there is a direct correlation between the kinds of weapons that can be had. Look, I met with every single family member of
Slingshots should be the only guns people have.
all those kids who were killed and the teachers killed out down in Uvalde, Texas. And they stayed with me for almost 4 hours, over 200 of them, meaning family and extended family. And the stories they told and the pain you could see on their faces, it just made you,
Did some of the parents show their bruises from being tackled by the police who helped that guy murder those kids? How is that not? How are those cops not arrested? They showed up to an active crime scene. They could hear the gunfire. They knew there was a dude in there shooting children, and they formed a phalanx and tackled and tasered parents who knew their kids were being murdered and wanted desperately to rush in there, probably gonna get killed themselves. And they arrested parents who were trying to stop the murder. How is that not complicit? If you drive a getaway car for a bank robbery, the law considers you just as culpable for everything that happened inside the bank, no matter what happens. If you just sit in the car and you drive away, you are exactly as culpable as everybody else inside that who went in there and might have done those things. I've seen Dark Knight, the Batman movie. Opening sequence is very captivating. It's good filmmaking.
it leaves such a...
Shouldn't we demand that every senator in the United States sit with those families?
Well, the answer is...
I would go with, like, they should have to wallpaper their walls with pictures of their brains and body. Like these AR-15s, the amount of power that is delivered via these bullets at the speeds and the size of the bullet, and I don't know what kind of, if they were expanding bullets or not. Also something that should be completely illegal. Armor piercing, who knows? But the amount of force, the amount of energy impacted on them. I saw a thing today about how for the mortuary or the medical examiners who have to deal with the dead bodies, they can't identify, like the description, this is content warning here, it was like a hollowed out cantaloupe or something. It was like a half broken open egg is what it said. It explodes. It shreds. Not that it's better. I mean, it is better, but this is where we are in this country. We're, oh God, can't we just be killing our kids with 9mm instead of these giant AR-15 slugs that just blast open their skulls and then rip off body parts and go through and penetrate through other kids? This is where we are in this country. Maybe we could only use 22s. Those are little bullets that don't carry as much force. It's probably a lot. I'd rather get shot with a 22 if I had my choice, I guess.
United States sit with those families?
Well, the answer is... It should be one of those issues.
You're right. It is our fault that people in the House and Congress can take responsibility for it, but it is our fault because we need to stop this. We need to do it.
Well, we did last time, as I said, and it
They didn't.
expired in 2004.
They slowed it down slightly. That's not okay. Sorry. I mean, let's let this go. This is going to take forever.
Can't you issue an executive order? Trump passed those out like Halloween candy.
Yes, sir.
I did. Isn't that something?
I did.
Well, I have issued executive orders within the power of the presidency to be able to deal with
Order a melon salad every morning. That's an executive order.
everything having to do with guns, gun ownership.
Whether or not you have to have a waiting, all the things are within my power. But what I don't want to do, and I'm not being facetious, I don't want to emulate Trump's abuse of the Constitution.
and constitutional authority. And
Oh, so we can't do anything with any kind of boldness because it would be what Trump did. He's basically saying, like, everybody out there who wants something done, vote for Trump when he runs. After we don't put him in jail because after this coup stuff that he's it's very clear that guy belongs in prison. You know, we live in a country where if you sell a pound of weed, you'll go to jail. But if you send a mob to murder your vice president in order to upend the democratic process of peaceful transfer of power, a coup, he's just going to be, then you got to be dictator for a little, got to wait 4 years before we'll let you be dictator. That's our punishment. Obviously, that's worst case scenario, and it's probably going to happen because we're the worst case scenario country.
So, I mean that's to say, because I often get asked, look, the Republicans don't play it square. Why do you play it square?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If we do the same thing they do, our democracy would literally be in jeopardy.
Oh, fuck
yeah.
Fuck you, man.
Not a joke.
And I understand that argument, but also it's like you're playing Monopoly with somebody who, won't pass go and won't follow any of the rules, and how do you ever make any progress if they're not
following the rules?
we got to send them to jail,
Do not pass go, Baltic Avenue.
directly to jail.
Go directly to jail.
The president is with us, Joe.
Give him a good laugh there, Jimmy. Validate his distracting bullshit comment. Okay. He still has a little bit of that charm gear, and I'm not saying I find that charming. I'm just saying, like, he's got that. This is Joe Biden's strength is his retail politics. He's always been like a backslappy kind of like grab you by the collar, give you a smoosh, lick your thumb, wipe the I almost said Kansas sauce, wipe the soy sauce off your lips. He's one of those kind of real kiss babies, flirt with girls, say like, oh, how old are you? 19? Oh boy, watch out for that. He said some creepy shit. Hair sniffing. Listen, I like to sniff a lady's hair when I get my sister wives, when I get my hot tub wives, when the age 37 to 45-year-olds are all swarming around my amazing bread bowls. I hope they like each other too. I don't want it just to be about me. Y'all go have a nice time. Go to the spa. It's on me. My podcast has 600 Patreon supporters. See, I have 0 actually, but I'm saying, join my Patreon. Let's help fund my my orgy life that I'm looking to have. What the fuck was I just talking about? When I have my wives, it's gone. Fuck.
Joseph Biden will be right back to talk more. We're back with President Biden.
Yeah, I had something I was really. Damn, this is a very frustrating show to listen to, and I'm sorry.
And the First Lady is with us, too, here in Hollywood. Will you be
And my granddaughter.
And your granddaughter is here. The family is here.
And her fiance.
And fiance. Ooh, maybe
It's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, how about that?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Happy birthday, baby.
Does somebody have to, like,
One of his teeth just goes.
remind you of all that stuff with all this craziness going on?
No. My dad used to have an expression: family is the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Family, as it's currently constructed, was a systematic imposition of capitalist priorities in the early industrial revolution period. Google Fordist Compromise if you're curious about that. They would literally. Companies, employers of the time had so much power over their workers, they literally imposed an entirely different social structure on people, which is to break us into these individual units called families. Not how human beings evolved, not how human beings naturally live. Of course, we can't just flip a switch and return to a more collective style of living, collective parenting. It's a legal distinction that's very important in terms of inheritance and hospital stuff. But this is something that I admit I've been ignorant about and only recently have learned about the concept of where the modern concept of the nuclear family comes from as a vessel for. This is how I see it. It's a vessel for distributing the divine right of kings by imposing hierarchy on society, starting with the one God at the top, which now is money. That justifies the top person, and then all that trickles down through the various levers of power, the various stages of hierarchical influence, to the consumer unit called a family, in which in America, because of the patriarchy, was very much about how dad owned mom and the kids and was allowed to do whatever they wanted to. Abuse and violence, and not every single situation, of course, and some people are lucky to have stable, good home lives. But even in the most, this is the last thing I want to say, so we got to keep going. Even in the most ideal circumstances where you have two healthy parents and they're Googling how to be a good parent, meaning like they're actually curious enough to educate themselves, and they had good modeling, and when they grew up in healthy families, you could still produce a pretty well-rounded person. I'm not saying that the only possible way to become out of this healthy is if you have multiple parents, but the stress levels on two-family or two-parent households, even in the ideal situation, is so hard. That's why they hire nannies, rich people who can afford that. That's why we send kids to school, because we need help. No, it's so hard to raise a child with a healthy two-parent household, let alone these single mothers and single fathers out there, or the poor children who don't have families and have to be stuck in the foster system or the adoption systems. There's a lot of for-profit adoption in this country, which is just utterly psychopathic. But I want to admit, like, I need to read up more. I need to learn more. I need to want to be able to express more of that. But it just strikes me as such a very clear an effective tool for atomizing people. If you're not lucky enough to have the best kind of two-parent household, and most people end up with a mix of their own parents' traumas and their own communities, and then you have to overcome the evolutionarily incongruent nature of not living the way we evolved. When you back in the evolutionary time, which is happening right, every evolution doesn't really stop, but before mass agriculture, mass culture, mass society, that especially the modern version we have, actually David Graeber's book, I think it's Dawn of Everything. There's also a book called The End of. I'm just thinking I'm getting that confused, but there's a book out right now about like the previous. It sheds a lot of nuance and light onto some of the mistaken assumptions we made about early agricultural societies, because there's lots of different, could say experimental, but different iterations of human collective living, meaning like how cities were organized and how power was shared. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. But we evolved in groups, and you didn't really know who your father was. You might not have, they probably knew who your mother was. I imagine the mother-child physical bond was just like one of the more, that I'm sure that was recognized and understood. But these were orgy-having monkeys, and they all looked out for each other. So if you needed help with the children, there were 8 or 9 or 10 or 20, I'm not sure, but there were multiple mothers around. There were multiple fathers around. There were uncles. There were goofballs like me who didn't really want kids, but I was good at making stuff out of wood, and I would show them how to make stuff out of wood until I got overstimulated by the too much of the activity. I had to go take a nap, go off and sleep by a stream, and dream of bread bowls. But it's inhuman. It just means that we're living in hard mode. It's kind of just the way you look at it. Like, oh, do you want to make life on easy mode? Well, then we should design society so that we can live as close to our evolutionary ancestors did, because that's what our instincts want. That's our software. That's actually something I was saying at the very beginning, is like we are, when I was talking about wanting to teach woodworking to kids, it's just that we are, why I'm obsessed with childhood stuff is because that's when the code is really programmed. That's when the cultural stuff really gets implanted, but particularly the psychosocial characteristics, the part of you that makes you you, that gives you the confidence or the self-worth and all those other sorts of things that are so critical. And there was a study, I think I talked about this on the podcast 5, 6, 7 episodes ago, where children whose parents received economic help, money every month, had physically better brains. Somehow they're able to measure this or test their cognition abilities or something, because their parents weren't so stressed out. This phase of life is so critical. There's so many, I could keep going on and on, but like we don't allow for parents to bond with their kids. You got to get back to work as soon as you have that fucking child. It's just a sickness, man. We have a sickness here. It's bad. Let's keep going.
I think a lot of Democrats are frustrated because, you know, we got out and voted. We won the House, the Senate, the White House, obviously, and still we have made very little progress as far as I'm concerned when it comes to guns, obviously, reproductive rights, voting rights, climate change, all these things. And in some ways, we've moved backwards.
Well, on climate change, we've actually made some real moves. I mean, we have, you know, 1 in 7 of all the changes.
Have we, Joe? Have we? No. You're exporting more oil than you have than Trump. You've raised natural gas exports. You've approved drilling permits. Well, in climate change, we talked about. I signed an executive order to get us back on the Paris Agreement. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm feeding the shrimp here.
That have taken place in terms of solar, wind, and wind pumps, and pumps and have occurred in the last 18 months.
We've moved, and there's an opportunity with the process we have dealing with energy to be able to gradually move more rapidly than we have been to alternatives. For example, electric vehicles. Jimmy, when I got elected, I've pushed electric vehicles for the last, God knows how long. Well, I had a conversation with the chairman of the board of General Motors, Mary Berry, and she was suing California, remember, and because your standard was too high.
Right.
Said, well, guess what? We had a conversation. I got a call from her about 4 days later. She dropped the suit.
And committed she's going to go all electric in the entire General Motors line, and by 2030, going 50%.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, it is. No, but it really is.
He talked a lady into changing over to electric cars by 2035. You can stop worrying about climate change now. Don't worry about it. These food shortages, these climate floods, fucking droughts, the refugee wars we're going to have because people can't afford to live or won't be able to afford or survive in vast swaths of the planet. Don't worry about that, because in California they're going to have electric vehicles in 2035 in one company. Maybe Elon Musk can fix it for everybody. That's a good one. Ooh, we can just export all the carbon to Mars. Just put it in a big envelope. Send it to Mars. Save us, Elon. Save us.
Ford came along and did the same thing. So we're on a path, and what is the successor to Chrysler is doing the same thing. We're moving in directions that are being slow. Look,
climate change is not a problem because I'm pals with the CEOs of these companies. They've been giving me money to help me cover up my 1970s hobo hunts for a long time. What are you asking for?
And I got 81 million votes, more than anybody's ever gotten. And thank you for those who you helped me with. But what's happened, Jimmy, is, we still only ended up with 50 senators, which means that we have 50 presidents.
And 2 of them are kind of iffy, I think, at best.
Here's the
Those, okay, I'm not going to go on and on about Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin gargoyles. I like gargoyles. The gargoyles are kind of cool architectural features. I should not say that. Ghoul goyles. They are obviously terrible. Obviously, they're just completely sociopathic, psycho, not just conservative, whatever the hell game they're playing. They're working for their corporate masters. Obviously, they're completely impeding any kind of agenda. They did try to propose. They proposed quite large spending bills. Not saying they were perfect, but they were like numbers like 4 trillion, 6 trillion, 3 trillion, which is also what you do when you know you're not going to get it passed. But they have been massive impediments. Biden's refused to really impose leverage on them. Investigate Joe Manchin's daughter for the EpiPen price gouging that she's done. Go after these people. Actually turn some screws. Instead, he just talks about them as if they're, well, let's see what he says. But, they're not actually, he's never actually going to use his actual bully pulpit to any effective measure. Although I would say if you do push too hard, they just flip over to the Republicans easily. Joe Manchin is a Republican. He's a conservative. I mean, very, very much. He's got so much corruption in the way he makes his money off of his coal companies and the way he often pretends like he's doing it to protect the citizens of West Virginia when it's really hurtful to those people. But he could flip over to the Republican side, flip the majority back to Joe Biden's best buddy, Mitch McConnell. He'd become the majority leader all of a sudden. So they really don't have any. Even if they did these investigations, it's just like, okay, I'm a Republican now. Goodbye. Let's say goodbye to your majority, Democrats, and they're desperate to hold on to that. Okay, so what? So we're just going to let them be Republican. They're Republican as they are anyway. they're just wolves in cowardly wolves' clothing. That's what they are, Democrats. But what they're doing though is they are making the service they're providing is to their corporate masters, but their service also the other group is their colleagues who also don't want to pass any of these things. So they take all the heat. They're just a heat shield, because if you can minimize the number of bad guys that are obstructing things, that's a favor. That's doing a big favor for the other folks there, because if we had a 55 to 45 Senate, guess what? There'd be 6 Democrats against it. Guaranteed. It's just so that's the sort of subtleness of the way that this sort of game is played.
I think it's interesting. One of the things that's
What if one of his fingernails fell off?
causing problems is that people think it's the Democratic Party that's so divided. And the problem is we have 48 out of 50 senators vote with me 95% of the time, more than any president has gotten that kind of support from their constituency. But we only have 50, and you can't get even 2, 3, 4 Republicans to vote. Look what's happening now with regard to everything from the way they talk about this potential decision from the Supreme Court. I mean, it's awful.
What do we do about that? I mean, what do we do? And what do you say to Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema? What do you say to them when you get them on the telephone?
Well, what I say to them is, and by the way,
do you want to share a melon sandwich with me? I got extras. I did an executive order at dinner time at 11 a.m. Come on over. I got balls all over the place. Melon balls, honeydew balls. My granddaughter tells me that honeydew is a type of melon. I'd never heard of something so crazy. My dad liked to drive.
They agree on a lot of these proposals relating to everything from choice all the way to...
I would hope so.
Well, yeah. I know, but it's not like they are there 80% of the time. The place that they're not there is Joe's not there on a lot of the things having to do with the climate and the environment.
Because he's an oil baron and a coal baron, and he changes his mind, and he's lying. Don't just sit here and make excuses for him. This is the rehabilitation service that the Democrats provide to the Republicans. They run cover for them.
Because he comes from coal country and he has a different view. Kristen is not always there in terms of the tax policies. Look, here's where we are.
It's just that simple.
We have the fastest growing economy in the world. What? We have 8.6 million new jobs just since I got in office.
Child-sized caskets are going through the roof. Rent is expanding the GDP. The line is going up. Corporate profits are at 80-year highs. Gas profits, everything. So the economy's doing great. Can't you feel it? Mehdi Hassan. He had a tweet where he got dragged over the weekend. I did a tweet about it too, because he was upset that as a restaurant owner pal of his said he was in a recession, and he's like, doesn't he know that the White House needs to do a better job telling us that we're doing great? I should put it on screen, but he's like, but nope, this guy's got vibes. He was like dismissive of this guy's vibes. What the fuck, man? Vibes are perception. Vibes are people only perceive what they see and feel, and they're usually within some degree of accuracy of precision to reality. Nobody has ever experienced reality, not even once. You're always off because it goes through your sensory organs, touch, even including that, and then it gets processed through your sense processor. So automatically, it's literally impossible to experience truly accurate reality. We want us to all sort of populate our own lived experiences pretty close. We can get pretty close. I mean, we usually, and although I've been seeing some people again at TikTok talking about quantum consciousness and shit. And I don't know anything about that. I read a lot of space stuff. I follow space things. Quantum mechanics is so far eluded my attention largely. But yeah, it's like the thing is, you can describe reality down the street, and someone else can go find the thing you just described. So how is it a whole different reality that's created? Okay, sorry, I don't need to start putting down. Sorry if I upset the quantum people out there. Sorry to all of you. Oh my God, you just made a new reality. I know. Shit pops into existence, and then there's a double part somewhere else. All right, okay, fine.
Office. Unemployment rate's down to 3.6%. We've reduced the deficit last year by $320 billion. This year, we're going to reduce it by $1.7 trillion.
Right.
And so we're the strongest economy.
So while my baby's brain is not forming because I can't get nutrition to it, I can look that baby in the already graying eyes and just say, the deficit's down $1.7 trillion, Junior. What more do you want? I'll get you a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, WSJ.com.
And that's allowed us at least to stay on top of and a little bit ahead of what's happening around the world.
He's like defensive and angry. That's the posture of the White House. They're like defensive. Like, we're doing a good job. Why aren't anybody recognizing how good a job we're doing?
Thing is, look.
Because nobody thinks the future is going to get better. And they're right. Hopefully they're not. I feel that. I'd love to be wrong. That's why I want to have hot tub wives. At least 7. Like a true proper Mormon. I don't know. 7's a lot. 7's a lot. They can get their own husbands. Monday husbands. That'd be fine. Share the love. Bring him over. Does he know woodworking?
Inflation is the bane of our existence. Inflation is mostly in food and in gasoline at the pump.
That's what kills you, because it's a little billboard telling everyone.
This guy hasn't paid for housing in years.
How expensive everything is. If Donald Trump leaves one of those Sharpies over for you, you could maybe change the price on that,
Bob, we could.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. You know, my dad used to say every family needs a little bit of breathing room. If you take and look at all the costs that a family has on a monthly basis.
Is that what his dad would say? Every family has a little bit of breathing room. It'd be funny if he goes, my dad used to fart. Then he made a fart noise with his mouth or with his armpit. Remember that? Hey, Gen Z, if you're into Gen Z, do you guys do that? Is the armpit fart, was that just a fun trend of the my upbringing? I remember there was a time where he who farted best ruled the nest, okay? That was on our pillows when we were kids. That's how much we loved armpit farts. Although we kept the word armpit fart off of it because it was not good graphic design.
Includes health care, prescription drugs, child care, all those things. What I'm proposing and I think we can get it done, I'm proposing that we, in fact, reduce the cost of those things. Why should anybody of you in the audience know anybody who has to take insulin every month because
who's comforted by this shit? Who looks at this guy? This guy's in charge. He's got nuclear weapons that he could launch when we need him to. This is the best we could come up with. They were so scared of Bernie Sanders. The only competent things that activities that Democrats can do in an aggressive, coordinated way, the kind of action we need them on every issue, is when they are making sure progressives, and by that I just mean anybody left of Paul Wellstone, of Dennis Kucinich, anybody to the left at all who especially someone like Bernie. I'm way left of Bernie overall for sure, but I still I see him as somebody that would completely reorient politics, or could potentially reorient politics, but the forces that would be mustered against him would be mighty. And if he were to become president, it'd be very much, there'd be capital flight, there'd be all sorts of crazy things. But the people, I think, would recognize a massive, would have a sea change in the way, at least enough of a percentage would. I know I'm sort of losing my I'm kind of stumbling over my words here. But the one competent thing that the Democrats can do is make sure that they keep progressives out of power. Henry Cuellar in Texas, up against a young progressive woman, Jessica Cisneros, very close race. It was their second go around. She ran 2 years ago, came close. She's terrific. She's great. And Pelosi and James Clyburn and bigwigs from the Democrats went and fought for Henry Cuellar. And guess what? He's a pro forced birth. He's a pro NRA. His house was raided by the FBI for corruption. I don't think that case is concluded yet. And the leadership of the Democrats pulled out all the stops to make sure that to keep Jessica Cisneros out of office. Same with Nina Turner. I have my issues with Nina Turner in terms of her employment at the Young Turks and the fact that she hasn't spoken up about the union busting. I still would love to see her in office. I think it's so, considering who the people that are available, that's sort of a separate topic. But like the way the Democrats pulled out all the stops to make sure she was kept out of power, it's disgusting, man. This is what they do.
Short one die.
10 seconds.
Reduce the cost of those things. Why should anybody of you in the audience know anybody who has to take insulin every month because they have type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes? Well, guess what? They're charging as high as $1,000 a month in some places, average $647 a month on average. Well, if I pay...
Those are hostage rates. Those are you die if you don't get the stuff. And so you're going to ration it to try to get your price down to $500 a month. If you only use half the dosage, people die all the time because they don't have the proper access to insulin. Not because there's not enough insulin, because there's not enough humanity, because we are a broken, deranged society that lets people die because they don't have enough. They haven't worshiped God enough. That is to say, they haven't collected enough money that the ghoul goyles at the very top demand. You want to stay alive? Work harder. You want to stay alive? Pay me. You want to stay alive? Steal, lie, cheat, climb up out. And if you do manage to make enough money, you get to harvest someone else's blood as a fucking capitalist. That's the dream in America. Keep at it. A couple people can figure out how to beat the video game on hard mode. That's proof that we don't need to make the video game easy. That's how it works here. Why would we make it easy for people? That just means you're going to be a taker. It's just deranged. And is he really just telling the audience how horrible we are to people who have diabetes? I have people with diabetes in my family. My dad, my grandma had it. I imagine my dad can afford the medicine. I know he has good insurance. He's on Medic. I don't know what his health insurance. I mean, he doesn't tell me all his details, so I don't know where but he is not poor. He's done okay for himself. And so this is not the kind of concern for him. But even for that, it's like, why should people have to spend this kind of fucking money for this stuff? We should pay for the cost of it. And push towards education and development of society where the money is not even part of the equation, but it's the profit part of it is just vile.
Pass what I want to get done, which we can do, and we can do it relatively easy. It's not going to cost more than $35 a month. It costs these companies.
So he's announcing his proposal that is not passed and will not pass, and then the audience cheers. There's a guy with his arms crossed, I like that guy, and then the audience fucking cheers. As if he did that. That's insane. That's like saying I am prepared to do something and then saying, well, then I've done it. No, you're not. You're prepared to do it. And that's bullshit anyway. Oh, we compromised. It's only going to be $550 a month.
No, I'm not. This is not, as our friends on Fox would say, socialism. This is very practical. It costs 10.
That's it. I'm aggressively going to rub my glasses on my shirt. No, that would actually scratch it up. This is not socialism. It's practical. Fuck you, man. Everything about socialism in this country, the things that we would inaccurately describe as socialism. There's a lot of talk in the socialist world about, that government doing stuff. That's not socialism. It's as a mindset. That's why I like to inhabit the space about mindset, in terms of what these concepts mean. Socialism would mean the workers control the means of production, and that I don't have the exact definition right off the top of my tip of my tongue here, but people, it is like just the fact that a government is providing a service doesn't necessarily make that socialism. In Europe, we have democratic socialist societies where they have full capitalism, but they claw back a lot of that in order to provide lots of government services. Those are capitalist countries with democratic socialism, and if we had anything close to that in America, we would all be doing so much better. It would be so much better. Here in this country, so the programs we would describe as socialists, like socialist security or Medicare, Medicaid even, not necessarily all being done perfectly, but people love socialism. George W. Bush, one of the first things that they tried to do early in his tenure was to begin a pitch process. Basically, he went on a public tour to start talking people out of Social Security. Basically, they wanted to make major cuts to Social Security. And you know who hates having their Social Security taken away? Republicans, conservatives, Americans, because there are very practical, reasonable things a society can do for its people that we would call socialism, like having clean water, like having libraries. And again, not the technical side of the socialism thing. I know that we're not there, like workplace democracy, which is something I fight for and I want to work in that world. That feels very, very authentic and important to me. But like this whole bullshit that he's doing, this anti-socialism propaganda, just sneaking it in there. It's very ingrained, especially as you go further down up the generation line like him, because the anti-communist and the anti-socialist and all that stuff was the McCarthy panics of the 50s, the Red Scare, they called it. That was all a coordinated response, a freak out, a backlash to the progressive era of the 30s and 40s. Americans reelected FDR 4 times. So they loved the fucking guy who brought in some actual policies that helped people. And anytime you help somebody in this country, this is what's so fucked up about it. I don't give a shit if you call it socialism, call it capitalism, call it communism. All these words come with a lot of baggage. They're actually kind of all the mistaken assumptions and historical ramifications of all this stuff is an inhibitor to just getting us to where we need to be. That's why my whole argument is that if we let people vote, they won't vote for capitalism. That's how I understand it. The reason I know that is because bosses, if people would vote for more capitalism, bosses would encourage unions, would encourage democracy. They would want workers on their board. They would want worker co-ops. They would want to share it with their workers if people would vote for capitalism. But they know no one would. No one would vote for the society we have the way it's currently constructed. That's why they prevent you from voting. The Republican Project is about preventing people from voting in all sorts of ways. Reimposing, it's always been imposed, but reaffirming their commitment to white supremacy. The great power that is America it's a hierarchy, and at the top of that chain is a smaller and smaller group of people, the ones who happen to have the institutional bias, thanks to the founders, and all the ones that have most of the guns and a willingness to commit violence. And really, they have a full command of their people's minds and their people's brains via media concentration. Sorry, let me back up 10 seconds.
I'm not. This is not, as our friends on Fox would say, socialism. This is very practical. It costs $10 to make a vine.
Just to summarize what I said, you can't, anytime you allow socialism in America, there's no going back, because Americans like it, because it's usually, not usually, but it's practical. It is reasonable. It is reasonable to have things like libraries. Again, I'm using the more generic notion of the government providing services, but just as it's reasonable to have power over your own community in the form of shared democracy.
Wow. So charging $35 gives them, a significant profit. They don't need, for example, our oil companies.
Why should there be any profit?
Oil companies, instead of everybody says, well, Biden won't let them drill, they have 9,000 drilling sites that they've already owned that are there. They're not doing it. You know why? Because they make more money not drilling and buying back their own stock.
It's all screwed up. No, and that's the thing.
It is screwed up, but we are...
You can tell Jimmy Kimmel's just like, yeah, we know. It's fucked up. Although I'm pretty sure if I looked into that, he's being very disingenuous about the drilling. Because I know he's permitted a lot of drilling, offshore stuff. I'm not sure if he's done as much of what Trump was doing, which was like opening up wildlife refuges and protected federal lands to drilling. I wouldn't be surprised if he was doing that at all either. But I know he did not mention that he's been also greenlighting a whole bunch of this stuff.
Only a few votes.
But Kimmel is like, yeah. Let's listen to Kimmel's response one more time.
Why? Because they make more money not drilling and buying back their own stock.
It's all screwed up.
No,
and that's the thing. It's
well, it is screwed up, but
right. It's all screwed up. And then Joe Biden's like, yeah, it's screwed up. And Kimmel's like, but you're the one who can do something about it. It's like Biden's standing there holding a fire hose that he won't use. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't have the fire hose. And Biden's going, man, it'd be nice if somebody did something about this. He's weakened institutionally. All right, sorry.
We are only a few votes away from being able to straighten it out. We have to get the message across in a way
that is understandable to people like the folks in my family we grew up. Tell people just what the facts are. And the facts are that this isn't anything about, so this is about building an economy. When I ran, I said I want to build a new economy. No more trickle down, from the bottom up and the middle out, because when the middle does well, everybody does well.
The wealthy do very, very well.
We have to protect the wealthy, though. If they have a down year, that's grounds for emergency. Like, the funny thing about, I was thinking about that the other day, like the entitlement of the wealthy, because we don't think of our labor or our time as the money, as the source of their money. We've been taught not to feel that. Our expertise, our energy, our life force, the work our parents did raising us. Domestic care and domestic labor is one of the great unpaid work, sectors of the economy that should be paid. It is the lifeblood of capitalism, is making sure that people have clothes and food and clean televisions to watch.
There are 54 major corporations in America, made $40 billion last year, and don't pay a penny in taxes. Not a penny. How many of you think the tax code is fair anywhere along the line here? How many? No, I'm not being facetious now.
He does that a lot. He does that kind of thing. By the way, I totally lost train of thought in my last comment, but he does that thing where he's like, no. Like, he sort of anticipates that they're going to go, oh, fuck this bullshit. He wants to like stop the tomato like mid toss, like, no. He's already done it like 2 or 3 times. No. As if like he's saying, listen, I'm just trying to tell you some uncomfortable truths that you guys don't want to hear.
I'm being deadly earnest. They don't pay a penny. So if we had a minimum tax of 15%, just minimum 15, it doesn't hurt them at all. They make a lot of money still, and we can raise a lot of money to make sure that child care doesn't cost you $1,400 a month.
Seals, just fucking seals.
Makes sense, and why it seems so crazy, and that we have so many problems, and that maybe it's just that Americans aren't as knowledgeable as they should be, or maybe there's a Death Star pumping false information into our brains.
Fox, right?
Or maybe
MSNBC.
Or maybe
it's all of them. It's media concentration. The 1996 Telecommunications Act that Bill Clinton signed was terrible. Allowed companies to consolidate their power over this stuff. Over the years, there's been just chipping away at that, like where news stations aren't, one entity's not allowed to own multiple news stations or own the newspaper and the news station. They used to have rules that separated those. All gone. I'm not sure. There might be some regulations still, but they've made it so that the people who control our photons and sound waves, like the physical nature, the physical particles of actual information, because that's how I see people, as just sensory organs with a processor. That's it. With complex stuff too, obviously, but you're only as informed as the photons and the sound waves that have entered your brain. And by the way, thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. But they allow a tighter and tighter group of people to be in charge of those photons and those sound waves. And so that, in other words, you are susceptible to the whims of a few ideologues. And of course, it's horrible, the Rupert Murdochs of the world, and in multiple countries. It's insane. It's just a terrible way. Our minds aren't ready for the internet. I don't know if it ever will be ready, but I think the phones and the internet is just, we've entered into a place where even in the best circumstances would be problematic. But they're just full speed ahead and trying to condition us for even further inhuman profit hoarding.
It's always been this way. Here in LA.
10 seconds, back up.
A Death Star pumping false information into our brains.
Fox, right?
Or maybe it's always been this way. I mean, here in LA,
A small fraction of people voted in the primary yesterday. And then everybody wants to complain about everything. And it's enough already. And I think you need to start yelling at people, is really what I think.
Well, here's what I think. Look,
Think about this.
Well, no.
Look what impact the pandemic has had on people.
it has had enormous impact, negative impact. Think of just your kids. How many got to go to a prom? How many had a graduation that got celebrated? How much has changed in terms of the relationships between people and how they interact with one another?
I mean, so much has changed.
What is he talking about? Jimmy Kimmel asked him, you need to start yelling at people, and he goes, your kids are having a terrible time because the society has collapsed and changed under the pandemic. They can't go to prom or the high school graduation. They can't neck their sweetie in the back of their dad's convertible.
And we need, Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, talks about the need for significant mental health proposals relating to people.
Children, they need mental health proposals because we're not going to pass any fucking thing.
People who are feeling, not knowing where they're going, not knowing how to respond, not knowing how to act. And so there's a lot we can do. But the bottom line is, I think that we've seen such a radical shift in one party, and the ability of that party to, that minority of the MAGA folks.
It's like.
And remember, we feel bad for Mitch McConnell because he's had to become worse because his party has gotten worse, the one that he's in charge of. Like, I don't think Mitch McConnell would have chosen Trump in 2015 or 2016, but they very, very, very quickly got on board because Trump was a very effective vessel for imposing Republican policies. I don't think we would be necessarily even in the fascistic, super aggressive. We've got gangs of white men attacking LGBT events. That's what that Patriot Front, the group of Patriot Front losers in the U-Haul van were arrested doing. A bunch of Proud Boys attacked a drag show. I think that stuff has always been there. I think that Trump is uniquely capable of activating that, like in Lord of the Rings. And the hobbits are hiding under the roots the first time they encounter one of the ring wraiths on a horse who's looking at the Shire. Back in, that whole thing. And it's like close to them, and all the bugs just come crawling out. Trump has had sort of an accelerant effect on that stuff. He does have such a command, and largely because he's profitable to the media that exists currently. Again, part of the problem is that we have a for-profit media system that is in the hands of a small few ideologues. I feel like I'm saying that word wrong. So yeah, back up.
Like we're living in
a radical shift in one party, and the ability of that party to that minority of the MAGA folks.
It's like we're living in two countries at once.
Yeah, and
it's
so,
like you can be.
But I've never been more optimistic in my life.
And Jimmy Kimmel interrupted. Watch how Jimmy says sorry here. It's just kind of interesting. He's trying to make a point.
And the ability of that party to that minority of the MAGA folks.
It's like we're living in two countries at once.
Yeah, and
it's
so,
like you can be. But
I've never been more optimistic in my life. So tell you why.
Why are you so optimistic? It makes no sense.
No, I'm serious.
Right, there's something to that. Yeah.
No, but I'm serious. You turn on the TV, look at the ads. When's the last time you saw biracial couples on TV? When's the last time you saw the way, people are selling products. They do ads to sell products. And they sell products when they appeal to people.
They're letting black people sell products now. What do you guys say? Well, we have optimism. Pretty soon we're going to let black people buy products. Won't that be something? Wow. Listen, my friend Mitch McConnell and Hitler and Satan, we all get together for a bowl of melon soup every once in a while, and we talk about how maybe we're going to have to let the black people buy stuff, too. We're letting them sell stuff for a change. Isn't that amazing? I saw a black guy holding hands with a white woman the other day, and I didn't call the police. Where's this? We got progress. That's what we call progress. And they do that like politician fist. They don't like to do the intimidating version. They'll go like the thumb in that spot.
This generation is going to change everything. We just got to make sure we don't give up. There's an ability for us to do everything from.
Biden wants to get reelected, he should get a nose ring.
Increase the access to education, healthcare. Look what we did in healthcare. All the talk about it. I was able to reduce people's bills about $400 a month.
It has changed people's lives for the better. No question
so there's
about it.
a lot
What
of
are you talking
major
about?
things we've done. But what we haven't done is
suck, Biden.
we haven't been able to communicate it in a way that is...
Oh, shit. Hold on. My ears don't work. My little thing is very old, so the connections. I'm literally putting a green squeezy ball thingy or squeezy thingy on it to try to give it the right tweak.
Make me say it another way.
Well, see, that's kind of perfect. Yeah.
Well-
we've
Whoa,
been
did he
able
just
to
say make me say it
communicate.
another
Look how
way?
the press has changed.
Sorry, I interrupted that one. So back up 10 seconds.
Way that is... make me say it another way.
Well, see, that's kind of perfect. Yeah.
Well,
we haven't been able to communicate
But
it.
look
in a
how
way.
the press has changed. Look how the press has
It
changed.
has changed. Oh, listen, I get it.
I know you over.
No, Mr. President. That's not toothpaste. No, careful. Oh, God. Why is the butthole itch cream in the same kind of container as a toothpaste? Somebody go get one of the nurses in here. They both have blue containers. He's been putting toothpaste on his butthole for the last 3 weeks. The last time we made it up here. God. Is anybody going to inspect this nursing home or what?
Understand it.
Yeah.
You don't just understand it, you overstand it.
Let's do push-ups. I'm going to rewind it. Sorry. I know this is all over the place. I hope people like this. I have made a bet on myself for a career, and so far it's proven to not be the right choice. I'm feeling that right now. And it's gone.
Look how the press has changed. Look how the press
All right,
has
back
changed.
up a little more.
It's-
Sorry. Here we go.
Make me say it another way.
Well, see, that's kind of perfect. Yeah.
Well,
we haven't been able to communicate
But
it.
look
in a
how
way.
the press has changed. Look how
The press is.
It has changed. Oh, listen, I get it.
I know you overstand it. You don't just understand it, you overstand it. But here's the deal. One of the things is that it's very difficult now to have even with notable exceptions, even the really good reporters, they have to get the number of clicks on nightly news. So instead of asking a question, anyway, everything gets...
gets sensationalized.
This guy sounds like me trying to talk. You know how horrible a president I would be? I'd get all excited thinking about having a group of 40-year-old women having threesomes in my separate orgies, and they could even have their husbands come over. I distract myself so much. It would be funny if he started talking about that. Well, you know, I could use is like some women between the ages of 67 and 82. We could come by. I got a shuffleboard game. I got an iPad. I think that's what they call it. I think it's called an iPad. You can do crossword puzzles on it. We could all get together and have crossword orgies with each other. Does anybody know a 5-letter word for imbecile? Anybody know? B-I-D-E-N. Good, thank you. Okay, thank you. Sounded like that one was pre-written. It was. I spent weeks on it.
In ways that, but I'm convinced we can get through this. We have to get through it. And one of the things, look,
I feel like the evil forest is just getting thicker and thicker, and we're like, we don't want to be in the evil forest, but it's also growing. It's just like the vines, you know, when like poison ivy goes after Arnold or something, Mr. Freeze, like, and it's like the vines are just clawing themselves across the land with big spikes on them too, so you know you shouldn't go near them. Poisonous fogs and weird thick spider webs, sentient spiders, the dangerous kind, weird critters, wolverines, even not the superhero ones, the little evil dogs that are just like fucking psycho dogs that are if a beaver and a devil had a baby, chupacabras coming at us, ring wraiths wearing their morning sweatpants. Even would be funny if one of those ring wraiths was just like a fat lazy slob like me, like wearing sweatpants, food stains.
I'm going to take
Sorry.
a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
Look
if
at
you
him.
don't
He's
mind.
rescuing
I'm
him.
sorry, we have some of those
He's
commercials.
rescuing this old fuck. This is like a tortoise that has fallen onto its back.
We have some.
Here we go. Back up. I'm sorry. I know I keep backing up, but I keep.
but I'm convinced we can get through this. We have to get through it. And one of the things, look,
I'm going to take a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
I
if you
don't
don't
blame
mind.
you.
I'm sorry. We have some of those commercials. We have some biracial commercials we need to show. We'll be back with President Biden.
We have. He knew that like that one's going to get noticed. I can't believe it. Maybe in 200 years we'll let black people return things they buy. Oh man, that would be something else. My granddaughter, she's got a poster on her wall and it's of women's soccer, and there's a brown on it. One of them is brown. It's amazing. What more progress do we need? Oh, my absent heart. Here he comes. Here he comes. By the way, trim up the back of your hair there, you fucking mullet-having leader of the free world. Look at that shit. It looks terrible. Look at this. Trim that crap. My hair's long. That's why I'm wearing my hat right now. But, you know, come on. Hey, Joe Biden's barber, if you're listening, and I know you are, he won't know. Just buzz it up a little bit. It looks terrible. These long, stringy strands. Hey, the Crypt Keeper called. He wants his hair back. Okay, fuck face. Why hasn't there been a reboot of the Crypt show? Didn't Jordan Peele do like a Twilight Zone? I never got a chance to see that. I need to check some of that out. Here we go.
Just a process question. When you have sensitive documents that you need to flush down the toilet, do you do that? Is that done in your office toilet, or is that done in the bathroom, in the personal bathroom area?
I call Trump. I haven't.
No complaints about that response. I'd say that was adequate. I mean, you know, well, fine. I get all angry, but it's fine. That's good. That's a good answer.
You know, everybody talks about, you know, sensitive documents and the like.
He's got a special set of dentures he switches them out for. Chops through it. Sorry, old people. I'm sorry about that. My mom, you know, I've got family dentures, so I'm allowed to make fun of them.
I don't destroy anything, but one of the things that I spent more time with Xi Jinping than any other head of state. And I'd always be, when I traveled with him 17,000 miles, spent 78 hours with him, they tell me, all told. And I'd have a consecutive interpreter and he'd have one. And the difference between when I would do that and others would do it, I always handed in all my notes.
You got to hand in your notes.
Hand in my notes.
You learn that.
He leans in. I always handed in my notes when I had meetings with a guy who I didn't have any idea what he was saying. I had to listen to the translators. No, I'm sure they have like other people around. That's just okay. It's just I followed the law, sort of. Let me say this. One of the signs that America is the bad country is that literally everywhere the president goes, they expect him to be murdered. The president travels with a military escort as a military function, as a operation of military power. He is surrounded by heavily armed, and not to mention all the various degrees of circular apparatuses that protect him too, in terms of like flight controls, and they have fighter jets ready to go. And so one sign that you're from the bad country is that we all accept the fact that everybody on the planet understands that someone will try to kill our leader. How about we abolish presidential assassinations? Create conditions in which it's not going to be a thing. Maybe then he could ride his bike to where he needs to go. Now, I'm of course, in this world, there's going to be a need for protective security around, especially particularly in our country. But just like, hey, like another way to look at it is like maybe the presence of this military commander with his phalanxes, his concentric circles of protective professional soldiers surrounding him at all times. Maybe that is a sign of an empire, of like a conquering leader. Perhaps that model of government is a little outdated for the world that we're in right now, for a for a planet that has now one system of consumption. There's no more ways to manage the entropy that we're wasting here in this country.
We learned that
on this earth.
In school,
That's
theoretically.
right.
Roe versus Wade.
Boy, these things just keep coming at you, don't they? I mean, there's no, you have not had an easier, what a terrible job you have. I mean, what, I'm glad you're doing it, but boy, oh boy, does this seem like a bad gig.
It's I think if the court overrules Roe v. Wade and does what it's draft,
well, we fear they will.
Well, if that occurs, I think we have to
legislate it. We have to make sure we pass legislation making it a law that is.
Which I will say into a microphone and do nothing to actually make happen, because I will never say anything bad about a Democrat who serves the same corporate masters that I have been a slave to my entire career.
The federal government says this is how
it works.
In another situation where most of the country is on the same page, something like 64% of Americans do not want to see Roe v. Wade overturned.
And it's just going to be the beginning, by the way. You know, there used to be a case called Connecticut versus Griswold.
Oh, I'm very familiar with it.
Well, you know, no, but all kidding aside.
Is that from the National Lampoon Vacation movie?
It is. Connecticut versus Griswold said that you could not use contraception in the privacy of your own bedroom because in the Constitution there was no right to privacy.
And so they could outlaw, and if you used contraception, it was against the law. You couldn't purchase contraception.
It'd be funny if he pulled out a condom and started putting it on his finger right now.
And, you know, there's a whole range of things that are at stake here when we talk about eliminating Roe v. Wade and all the flows
Same-sex
from it.
marriage.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, privacy as the foundation, I'm not a scholar on this at all, but the privacy as the foundation for Roe v. Wade has held until now because the Republicans have finally achieved their goal, which they set the day after they codified Roe v. Wade as an issue of privacy. Now they're finally able to take it away, and no one can stop them from doing that. And they certainly know that the current crop of Democrats, especially even the ones that would replace the Bidens, the next generation down, the Gen X Googoils that are going to take over after finally for some merciful shuffling away of our mortal coil here of the older of these fucking dinosaurs. They're still not going to pack the court like we should, or fight hard enough for a change. We need to just tear up the Constitution, start over. What the fuck are we sticking with this thing for? It's insane. It's crazy. 17th century, 16 or 1800, 18th century monsters wrote this document. We're supposed to just act like it's some holy thing, and they've ascended it to a third book of the Bible. Is the Bible 2 books? What am I thinking of? The Mormons? I have no idea. First Testament, New Testament, right? Isn't that how it goes? Old Testament. I knew there was 2 of them. Well, that's why when they talk about constitutionalists, I'm a constitutional, we got to honor the founding fathers. They made these dudes into deities. Patriarchy doesn't even quite describe it correctly. It's a religious, it's like a theocratic patriarchy. Fuck that shit, man. It's not the way to run a society. Whatever like people get, and if anybody hears that, it's like, oh my God, he's talking bad about it. You know what? That's because the Pledge of Allegiance worked on you, because you were brainwashed as a kid into having your willingness to question the country out or kicked out of you, conditioned out of you. We should question this stuff. That's what freedom is allegedly about anyway. Not to say that a refreshed Constitution wouldn't maybe borrow some of the parts of it we like, perhaps, but it's not adequate for the world in which we live. And there hasn't, and okay, the genius is that they allowed it to change. Well, they updated it like the year after, the Bill of Rights. Someone called it a day one patch. It started out crappy. Yes, okay, fine. We had a document that we were allowed to change. That was an innovation at the time, as far as I can tell, as far as I understand it. I'm probably wrong. But there hasn't been a constitutional convention in, 70 years or so? Like we're not doing that anymore. We're not updating it. We're not adding new amendments. And quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if after the dictator comes in to power and we stop having proper elections. Now, modern dictatorships look more like Hungary or Russia right now. Like there's, it's not the same quite as no more elections. It's just rigging the system to never allow the person to not win. And Trump has talked about how you got to control the people who count elections. He said it directly. They're advertising that that's their plan. The entire Republican ideology is built around fealty to the lie that Trump tells his supporters, which they wholeheartedly believe that it was stolen from them in order to justify the fact that they're going to steal elections from now on. It's a dying, diminishing percentage of the country, demographically, ideologically, spiritually. The conservative push, the descendants of the people who inspired the Nazis, they looked at American Jim Crow laws and American segregation policies, and our one-drop rule was deemed too excessive even for the fucking Nazis. But there were delegations that came over here. There were many American corporations that worked with the Nazi Party these guys looked to us as a inspirational example, and that is the conservative part of our argument, of our continuum. Not to suggest that the modern day Democrats wouldn't have also been part of that, because they're still part of it still all folds under the umbrella of domination, subjugation, capitalism. That's what that is. So they're the ones who are going to impose it all. I lost my train of thought. It's gone. Sorry. Too many bread bowls.
My view. And I don't think the country will stand for it, but
Let me back up 10 to 20 seconds.
Contraception, it was against the law. You couldn't purchase contraception. And, you know, there's a whole range of things that are at stake here when we talk about eliminating Roe v. Wade and all the flows
Same-sex
from it.
marriage.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, in my view. And I don't think the country will stand for it, but I think what we're going to have to do, there's some executive orders I could employ. We believe we're
like marijuana rescheduling. Marijuana, it's considered just as dangerous as heroin and cocaine. All the drugs should be legalized anyway. They can get into that, but like that is just brutal. That is so he could fix that in a day. Student debt, obviously, huge one. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do these executive orders.
We're looking at that right now, but I want to keep
Employ him.
Look, he suggested he might do something, and the audience started applauding.
But look,
Back up 10 seconds.
employ. We believe we're looking at that right
10
now.
more. Sorry, I want to hear what he says about the executive thing.
Will stand for it, but I think what we're going to have to do, there's some executive orders I could employ. We believe we're looking at that right now, but I want to keep.
There's some executive orders I could employ. I could do something. I could turn on this fire hose. I like that fire hoses have that cool like throttle back thing, that switch that does it. I could turn on the fire hose, put out the fire, but I've been taking money from the arson lobby most of my career, so I can't. What am I going to do?
I want to keep.
Employ him.
But look, it's clear that if, in fact, the decision comes down the way it does and these states impose the limitations they're talking about, it's going to cause a mini revolution. They're going to vote a lot of these folks out of office. We got to keep it focused on.
Look, he's got the Botox face going on right here. Okay, so the plan is it's going to get really bad, and then there'll be a mini revolution. What's to worry about? I'll just let other people do the work that I don't have. I just said I have the power to do some stuff, but I'm just going to assume that the most cucked people in the history of people are going to stand up when the monsters show up. I think a lot of us will. You saw how violently the police beat back the protests after the George Floyd lynching. You guys all saw that. We saw how much the cops turned up with their overly militarized gear. Overly, that suggests there's a proper amount of militarization. But these domestic military occupiers, open air prison America, they came, they kettled people. They were brutal oppression, brutal suppression, flying helicopters low to freak people out below, to fuck with people who were trying to protest stuff. The president sent horse brigades to tear gas and to run people over so that he could go take a photo op holding up a Bible. There were so many moments during the Trump thing, like when he was breathing hard after he had COVID, standing out on the balcony. It was just fucking crazy. I hate that we have to live through this. I hope we live through this. It might not ever end. But this motherfucker's plan is just to let things get really bad, and then there'll be some people upset about it. Well, they're taking away all the voting anyway here, Biden, you stupid asshole.
If they overrule Roe v. Wade and the state, California won't do it.
Woe we Wade.
But other states say that you cannot do the following. It's a law. You can't cross the border. You can't, all the things that some states have. And you got to make sure that you vote. You got to vote and let people know exactly what the devil you think. And we change it.
Yeah, we have to.
That's Obama's old line. Don't boo, vote. What are you blaming me for? They blame you. It's your fault. You didn't vote. You didn't go vote on Tuesday when you can't get off work. And then they make voting harder. Your boss can take off work. You can't take off work on Tuesday. You might not even realize there's an election coming up. A lot of people are so checked out, they don't even, they're surprised. They might notice the election in the week or two before it comes up, like a big presidential one. Like, oh, wow, look, there's an election going on. I pay attention to this crap all the time. One of the reasons I'm such a fucking Looney Tunes. It's probably part of my goddamn depression. But like, this is the Democrats' favorite line, is to say, we try, you let us down. You didn't vote hard enough. The liberals love that. Vote, just got to vote them out. And there's some truth to the fact that we should be able to vote them out. We tried voting in Al Gore in 2000. He got more votes than George W. Bush. George W. Bush became president. His brother, the governor of Florida, in the most critical state in that contested election, his brother was the governor. The Secretary of State appointed by his brother, Catherine Harris, was George W. Bush's campaign manager, or for Florida. Like, they have separate ones for each state. So the lady in charge of the election in Florida was actually working on the campaign for George W. Bush. That's America. We're institutionally biased towards conservatism, really. That's what the Senate is, and the Electoral College. Electoral College put George W. Bush in. We voted for Gore. We didn't get a Democrat as a president. Same with Trump. Hillary got 7 million more votes. Trump became president. We're trying the voting thing. We voted these motherfuckers into power. We're not doing shit. God damn it. That's a huge debate I see on the left. And actually, I haven't yet heard a very persuasive case on any of it from those that say we need a third party versus those who are okay with supporting Democrats in the general election. I lean towards that side, not that it's that vote blue no matter who thing. And I completely understand the anger that is there. It's all about powerlessness, though. Everybody, I don't like looking at it, though. That's something I've noticed among lefty commentators. Not everybody, obviously. And I'm not even sure I can pin down who I'm talking about. But this purity testing we do, if you say you're going to vote for, I vote against Republicans. That's how I justify it. And also, you're going to tell me in the same one breath that the votes don't matter, and then act like somebody doing that is the worst thing that they could do. You use it as a character thing. I just think that it all fits into the tragic truth that you're just as powerless as I am. We all don't have any fucking clue. You can, and I'm persuadable. You could persuade. I just haven't seen what's so persuasive about it. I don't understand why the world will get better if we have Republicans in charge. That's an accelerationist argument. And actually, that's what we're going to do. That's what's happening. We're doing the accelerationism. It's accelerating. It's accelerating under Democrats. It's going to accelerate much faster under Republicans. And it's, the idea that you should vote for Democrats is not persuasive. What are they doing for anybody? This is the guy we're supposed to be inspired to like go vote for, to stand up to. People are going to be terrified of the Republicans. The Democrats, when Clinton was running against Trump, they wanted Trump. They made it so that Trump would be their opponent because they completely don't understand the people at all. Someone like Bernie, though, would be able, I think, if Bernie had made it through the nomination, he would have destroyed Trump. He absolutely would have destroyed Trump. Because he doesn't fit into any of the molds either. People are desperate for something different. Trump, for all his horrible, odious, disgusting, very American traits, he is different, even though he's exactly a demonic vampire, just like all the rest of these people. One of the very worst examples. It's pathetic and disgusting. So I'm not even saying I'm trying to talk anybody into doing whatever, but like I'm not persuaded that the NLRB is a big one, actually. The way the appointments to those offices, because there's a lot of power within the administrative branch, the executive branch, for these agencies, these big departments, these big things. And the NLRB, a Trump-led NLRB, would be so much more hostile. In fact, sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now, but the person Biden picked is actually a fairly decent, like, labor person, in line with exactly what I would like to see out of the labor world. Of course not, but having, like, there are real world consequences such as that would be imposed if we have Republicans in power. And the fact is, though, voting Democrats probably not gonna work this time anyway. So this probably upsets people, though, and this kind of topic seems to be, people seem to take this stuff very personally. I just see it as evidence that we're all powerless, because we are, because the system's designed to do that. We're almost done. Thanks for hanging with me.
Vote for people who are fighting for this country and not just reacting to these horrible things, because we should have done something about gun violence a long time ago. The climate is something we could all look back at
these days and go, oh my God,
But we have made some progress there. There's 560,000.
He's just such a. You put a quarter in his mouth and he'll spit out a fake spider ring out of his pee-pee hole. Listen to this fucking guy. Jimmy Kimmel's just trying to suggest, and I'm not. I mean, sure, I want Jimmy Kimmel to grab him by the collar and say, "Listen, motherfucker, you're not trying." Like really scream at him. It's a very interviewing a sitting president is an enormous thing for any media figure on a comedy show. It's fine. It's all another indicator of how kind of stupid it all is. These laughs at us jokes and stuff. This whole respect these people is just fucking sick. But I want to back up 10 or 20 seconds.
Fighting for this country and not just reacting to these horrible things, because we should have done something about gun violence a long time ago. The climate is something we could all look back at these days and go, oh my God.
But we have made some progress there. There's 500.
He's defensive. That defensiveness is just pathetic.
60,000, but it's moving. It's moving. My mother used to say, out of everything bad, some good will come if you look hard enough for it. So the reduction on the use of oil also increases the need to find alternatives.
Mm-hmm. My mother used to say, Joe, did you get into my horse tampons? Again, my mother used to say, where's the melon baller? Joe, are you putting the tip of your weenie in the melon baller? It's about the right size, right? Little bit. Sam Cedar on the Twitter put out a thing where he didn't know that kids would put vodka soaked tampons up their butts, and I wrote a tweet that horse tampons are better. Expecting it to blow up, I figured I'd be like a celebrity by an hour of retweets from that one, and nobody liked it so far. And I was like, what the fuck? Horse tampons is hilarious. Who's putting in horse tampons? Nobody. That's why it's funny. Now, sorry if I've offended the horse tampon community. This is great for the YouTube algorithm, by the way. They love people talking about them horse tampons. They're just bigger. More or less the same stuff. You can get horses drunk so fast.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going over to the quote G7, the 7 largest economies in the world, and meeting in Germany in a couple weeks.
Well, we're looking hard for the good.
Back up just to hear his final couple.
It's moving. My mother used to say, out of everything bad, some good will come if you look hard enough for it. So the
reduction on the use of oil also increases the need to find alternatives. And that's why I'm going over to the quote G7, the 7 largest economies in the world, and meeting in Germany in a couple weeks.
Well, we're looking hard for the good things.
And we're glad you're looking hard for the good things, too.
We can do this. This
All right.
is the United States of America.
The United States of America can do anything they want when they set their mind to it, when they work together.
I hope
He means it. I know you were doubting it, but he means it. Botox face right here means it. And fucking backhead mullet hair with the Crypt Keeper fucking pubes on his head. He means it.
Everyone, thank you, Mr. President. We'll be back with
Jimmy Kimmel should grab his name tag right there and just bonk him over the head with it and say, just fucking get some sense into you. Let's put Kamala Harris in charge. Boy, she's just, Jesus Christ. When you see her trying to stumble over a bunch of words, she just starts repeating herself. My God. I've had conversations with my AI girlfriend that are more interesting than that.
Jack Johnson. I am Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, there he is, Jimmy Kimmel. Everybody go like and subscribe to Jimmy Kimmel. Thanks for putting up with this, YouTube. Oh, yeah, here, I got a Bernie thing for Lindsey Graham. Maybe we'll save that for another day. So, yeah, light some torches here on the Winners and Losers website, which I need to update. I'm not calling anything Perfect Union anymore. So, random aside. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I did. I'm a little sweaty because I closed the window because I'm paranoid about my voice. I don't want somebody getting the show for free. No, it'd be weird to hear a neighbor doing a podcast screaming about horse tampons and stuff. So I closed the window. Anyway, good show. Good job, Hank. Good way to keep going. Keep walking, everybody. Talking to Hank as well as you guys. Keep showing up for yourself and your health. Be patient. You're not perfect. Things are tough. Things are hard. Things are sloppy. They're probably going to get worse. You don't have to be as afraid as you feel. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. It's easy to get lost in this stuff. But the world is not helped if you have a bad day. And it doesn't mean translate that into you got to go do stuff that you can when you can. But take breaks. It's okay to pull back. Go for walks, whatever it is, move your body. Cold showers, by the way, that's another one of those that like I heard someone say, and I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. And it just, that's like getting zapped by electricity. You go, ah! But after like, you're like, oh, geez, pay attention, do that, try it. Let me know. Leave a comment. Let me know how, if you do a cold shower, I would love to hear that you tried it because I said you should. You can go hot and then you just slowly dial it in to get colder, or you can go hot, boom, hot off cold, pow. I like it that way. That's just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off, you know? But forgive yourself for not being perfect. These are hard times. These are going to stay hard times. It's going to keep getting hot. It's going to keep being weird. I think something really bad is coming, though, in the form of the Republican fascist stuff, and it's going to be empowered by democratic weakness. Our leaders are conservative Democrats that praise Republican leaders and say they want stronger Republicans. That's a ominous thing to say when they're promising to take over the country and end democracy. But I lost my train of thought there. I know there was something I was going for. You know, you don't have to have a bad day all the time staring at this, listening to all this news shit. So only engage to the point where you're not making your life worse. Doesn't help anybody. Okay, I'm just repeating myself. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I'll have some new TikToks out. I haven't been doing them. My days have been filled with this video I'm working on. There's still quite a bit of time to go, unfortunately. I mean, it's not, I'm nearing the end, but I also, just based on how much progress I've been making, even with long days, it still is a fairly slow thing. I think it'd be really fun. Sorry, I'm just going on here, to do like professional documentary work and professional, like, you know, direct and write and edit one. I'd like to edit for people, but where my real heart is in like not just doing someone else's thing. I want to partner with people and make cool stuff, but it's the part where I feel like among my skills is in the like concepts and the funny part and the sort of being more of the decision maker. Yeah, I'm a little arrogant about it. Maybe, I don't know. That's just what I just know how to listen to my bod. And speaking of that, I'm going to listen to the show again after I watch this and realize that it wasn't as embarrassing as it feels while I'm recording. That's how it always goes. I'm terribly embarrassed and upset about everything I've just done. Then I watch it. I go, meh. I've heard stupid or dumb fucks on the internet say dumber shit than that guy just said. So it's okay. And I'm going to publish it, put it out there. Be safe. Be healthy. Stay skeptical, the healthy kind. And if you're interested in becoming a pitch and putt wife, we could build a pitch and putt in the backyard. You can go to work and we'll make us a pitch and putt for all the wives. One for every day of the week. We can get into the hot tub. We can build, I would like to build a pizza oven outside out of bricks. Wouldn't that be fun? 7 pizza ovens. All my kitchen wives can compete to make the finest pizza. Polygamy. Let's do it. What the fuck am I doing? Shut up, shrimp.